The night my husband made that request, I honestly thought he was joking. We had always been honest with each other. We shared our dreams, our fears, and even the things most couples were too afraid to talk about, but nothing could have prepared me for what he said next. He looked me straight in the eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered, "There's something I've wanted to ask you for a long time." I smiled, expecting something ordinary. Instead, he asked me to do something I never imagined I'd even consider. For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. Part of me wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to walk away and pretend I'd never heard those words. But the more I thought about his request, the harder it became to ignore. What started as his secret wish slowly became a decision that would test our trust, challenge everything I believed about our marriage, and change our relationship in ways neither of us expected. I had no idea that saying yes would lead to the most unforgettable night of our lives. Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, only takes a second, and it helps support future stories. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Now, back to the story. His hands settled gently around my waist as he drew me close. We stood together in comfortable silence, enjoying the warmth of the moment after a long, emotional evening. I rested my head against him, letting out a quiet sigh. "Don't go just yet," I whispered. He smiled softly and wrapped his arms around me. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. The silence felt peaceful, broken only by the sound of our breathing. His fingers absent-mindedly traced small circles across my back while I listened to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Eventually, I looked up at him. "You're awfully quiet," I said. He chuckled. "I'm just thinking." I smiled. "About what?" He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "About how wonderful tonight has been." I laughed softly. "I agree." For another moment, we simply enjoyed each other's company before curiosity got the better of me. "Have you ever wondered if there was a way to make our relationship even more exciting?" I asked. His expression changed almost instantly. The brief hesitation didn't escape my notice. "What do you mean?" he asked. "We've always been open to trying new experiences together," I replied. "What if someday we stepped a little further outside our comfort zone?" He looked at me thoughtfully, taking a slow breath before answering. "There is something I've thought about." I leaned forward, interested. "Tell me." He ran a hand through his hair. "I've wondered what it would be like for you to share a unique experience with another woman." I blinked, surprised. "Another woman?" He nodded carefully. The words hung in the air between us. My heart beat a little faster as I tried to process what he had just admitted. I opened my mouth to answer, but nothing came out. Over the following days, I couldn't stop thinking about the conversation. His suggestion found its way into my thoughts at unexpected moments, while lying awake at night, getting ready in the morning, or trying to focus on everyday tasks. At first, the idea seemed impossible. I had never imagined anything like it before. It felt completely outside the life I knew. Yet, the more I reflected on it, the less impossible it seemed. It wasn't only the idea itself that lingered. It was the trust behind his honesty and the possibility of exploring something unfamiliar together. Still, doubts remained. What if saying yes changed the way he saw me? What if it changed how I saw myself? The uncertainty was intimidating, but so was the curiosity growing alongside it. Part of me wanted to understand why this mattered so much to him. Eventually, I realized something. This wasn't only about fulfilling his curiosity anymore. I had become curious too. The hesitation hadn't disappeared, but it was no longer strong enough to stop me. I decided I would seriously consider it, even though I had no idea what the future might bring. The days that followed passed more quickly than I expected. Once I had made up my mind, there was no turning back. Instead of questioning my decision, I found myself becoming more curious about what lay ahead. Every conversation we shared, every smile, and every quiet moment together seemed to carry a secret that only I knew. I wasn't simply agreeing to something he had imagined, I was choosing my own path. After carefully planning everything, all that remained was the surprise. One morning, as we lay together before starting the day, I rolled onto my side and gently traced patterns across his arm. "I need you home by 8 tonight," I said with a small smile. "No questions, just trust me." He looked at me, still half awake, clearly curious. "8? What's happening?" "You'll find out tonight." He searched my face for clues, but I wasn't giving anything away. After a brief pause, he smiled. "All right, I'll be there." That was all I needed to hear. The evening finally arrived, and I found myself waiting by the door. My heart beat a little faster than usual, not from fear, but from anticipation. Everything had been carefully arranged, and there was no going back now. When he walked inside, I greeted him with a quiet smile and reached for his hand. "Come with me." Without another word, I led him through the hallway, toward a room where the lights were already dimmed. The door stood slightly open, inviting us inside. The atmosphere felt calm, but filled with quiet expectation. As we stepped into the room, he stopped. Someone was already there. She sat comfortably, composed, and confident, as though she had been patiently waiting. She offered us a warm, reassuring smile before her eyes settled on me. I glanced toward my husband and noticed the surprise on his face. For a brief moment, he seemed almost speechless, trying to understand what he was seeing. I turned back toward her, and she stepped forward with quiet confidence. She reached for my hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. It was a simple gesture, enough to ease the nervousness that had been building inside me. I smiled back, grateful for the reassurance. For a few moments, the three of us simply talked. The conversation was relaxed, helping the tension fade. We laughed a little, shared a few stories, and slowly settled into a comfortable rhythm. Every minute that passed made the unfamiliar situation feel a little less intimidating. I stole another glance at my husband. He hadn't taken his eyes off me. There was surprise in his expression, but there was something else too. Gratitude, admiration, and a quiet appreciation that was difficult to put into words. That look alone told me everything I needed to know. The uncertainty I'd carried for days slowly disappeared. Instead of feeling pressured, I felt supported. Instead of fear, I felt confidence. This wasn't about living up to someone else's expectations anymore. It was about trust, openness, and sharing an experience that all of us had chosen freely. I realized then that the hardest part had never been making the decision. It had been taking the first step. Now that I had, there was no need to second-guess myself. Whatever happened next, we would face it honestly, together. As the evening continued, the conversation became easier. The initial awkwardness slowly faded, replaced by a sense of calm that none of us had expected. There was no pressure to rush anything. We simply allowed the moment to unfold naturally, learning more about one another through conversation, shared laughter, and quiet pauses.
I found myself relaxing. The uncertainty that had followed me for days began to disappear, replaced by curiosity and a growing sense of trust. Every now and then, I looked toward my husband. He remained quietly observant, giving me space while making it clear that he was there if I needed him. His calm presence grounded me more than he probably realized. As the hours passed, I noticed something unexpected. This experience wasn't changing our relationship in the way I had feared. Instead, it was revealing something important about it. We had always believed that trust meant honesty, but now I understood that it also meant listening without judgment, respecting each other's boundaries, and allowing difficult conversations to happen without fear. At one point, our eyes met across the room. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. His smile was small, almost hesitant, but it carried a quiet gratitude that reached me instantly. I smiled back. For the first time since he had shared his secret, I felt completely at peace with my decision. Eventually, he walked over and stood beside me. He placed a gentle hand on my shoulder before quietly asking, "How are you feeling?" I thought about the question before answering. "Better than I expected." He nodded, relieved. "I'm glad." There was no excitement in his expression anymore, only appreciation and genuine concern for how I felt. That mattered more than anything else. The three of us continued talking for a while longer, reflecting on how strange it had been to reach this point and how different reality felt from imagination. It reminded me that expectations often seem overwhelming until they're replaced by honest communication. As the evening drew to a close, I realized something surprising. The most meaningful part of the experience wasn't the mystery or the anticipation. It was discovering that openness and trust had strengthened our relationship rather than weakened it. Whatever came next, I knew we would continue facing it together with honesty, patience, and respect. As the evening came to a close, the atmosphere in the room felt different. The uncertainty that had filled the beginning of the night had given way to understanding. My husband stepped closer, his eyes meeting mine. There was gratitude in his expression, more than excitement, more than relief. It was the look of someone who felt seen and trusted. He wrapped his arms around me, holding me gently. "Thank you," he said quietly. I smiled, resting my head against his shoulder. It wasn't just about the surprise I had planned. It was about the honesty that had brought us to this moment. For a while, none of us spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was peaceful, giving us time to process everything that had happened. Eventually, I looked up at him with a small smile. "So," I asked softly, "was it everything you imagined?" He laughed quietly before shaking his head. "It was better," he replied. "Not because of the surprise, but because we faced it together." His answer stayed with me. Over the past few days, I had worried that opening the door to something unfamiliar might create distance between us. Instead, it reminded me that trust grows when people are willing to have honest conversations, even when those conversations feel uncomfortable. Sometimes the things we keep hidden aren't meant to stay hidden forever. Sometimes sharing them with the right person can deepen a relationship rather than weaken it. As we left the room together, I realized the evening hadn't simply been about curiosity. It had been about understanding, respect, and choosing to face the unknown side by side. And perhaps that was the real lesson all along. Have you ever had a secret dream, fear, or wish that you were afraid to tell someone you loved? What happened when you finally shared it? Let me know in the comments. I enjoy reading your thoughts and experiences. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.